The same thing applies to the Porsche Carrera. It looks just like what a Porsche should look like. This time, Spotlight takes a closer look at Saab's new model, the Saab 9000 CS. We've selected a CS with a turbocharged 2.3-litre engine because it gives the car maximum versatility. And this versatility will be needed in this comparison because the quartet of challengers represents a wide range of characteristics. The mass producer Ford is represented by the Ford Scorpio, with a 2.9-litre V6 engine with a new 4-valve head achieving 195 horsepower at 5,750 RPM. The Audi 100 with its new V6 2.8-litre engine represents the specialist car manufacturers. The engine produces 174 horsepower at 5,500 RPM. The luxury car in this context is a Jaguar XJ6 with a straight 6 3.2-litre engine, which now has 4 valves per cylinder. It achieves 203 horsepower at 5,250 RPM. And finally, the sports car, a Porsche 911 Carrera 2 with a 6-cylinder 3.6-litre boxer engine, 250 horsepower at 6,100 RPM. But before we begin the comparison, let's take a closer look at the car which Saab themselves call the second generation of the 9000 model. In the CS model, Saab have combined the best from its predecessor with radical new designs. The 4 alternative engines are the same as before, either an injection version or turbo version of the 2 or 2.3-litre engines. And the interior is the same. As far as the modifications are concerned, the most striking, of course, is the appearance. The car has been given a new front and a new rear. The new body not only influences appearance. The new shape reduces the lifting forces, improving stability and road-holding characteristics. The new headlamps are a typical example of Saab solving problems without making compromises. When the low front resulted in poor lighting with ordinary H4 headlamps, they were replaced with the more efficient H1 lamps, and new double headlamps were designed with separate lamps for dipped and main beam. Apart from this, the dipped beam is on even when the main beam is switched on. Despite the major external modifications, the most radical changes are below the surface. The body structure has been stiffened by means of a new seat beam and intermediate walls in the sill boxes. Moreover, the rear wheel housings are connected to the C-posts, which are in themselves elevated and angled in under the roof as an additional roll cage. These modifications have given the body 35% more torsional resistance than its predecessor, and this means, among other things, that one of the world's safest cars has been made even safer. The so-called survival space in the event of a side collision has been increased by 80 millimeters. Even in the event of a collision from the rear and a rollover, safety has been substantially improved. The chassis characteristics have also been improved thanks to the rigid body, which allows the use of stronger anti-roll bars, different spring and shock absorber settings, and larger volume tires. This improves both comfort and road-holding characteristics. Spotlight very much appreciates the up-to-date and modern appearance of the new Saab 9000 CS. The low front, the increased slope of the bonnet and the turned-up rear characterize the wedge shape, also giving the car a sporty, powerful appearance. And the rounded shapes continue to emphasize the Saab character and give the car both quality and harmony. According to Spotlight, the Ford Scorpio gives the impression of being quite large, but it's unwieldy and lacks harmony and character. The car as a whole doesn't give an impression of quality. The Audi 100 is a little boring, and the car doesn't really have its own identity. Yet it radiates both quality and harmony, even though it isn't in the same class as some of its competitors in the specialist car class. But what about the Jaguar XJ6? Well, Spotlight has no reservations about this car. The car exudes what a luxury car should: quality, prestige, and wealth. The same thing applies to the Porsche Carrera. It looks just like what a Porsche should look like. You don't buy a Porsche because it's easy to get into, or for reasons of space, or because you need room for a lot of suitcases. If you're after these qualities and have plenty of money to spare, you'll probably choose a Jaguar. But even a Jaguar isn't always easy to get into without some difficulty. And, contrary to expectations, the seating feels somewhat confined. But it does offer a choice of adjustments. The instrument panel is a little fiddly, although the instruments themselves are clear and logical. The detailed finish is of a high quality. The walnut panels and the smell of hand-sewn leather are quite seductive. But anyone who thinks he can buy a Jaguar and drive while wearing a hat can do so, but with difficulty. A peaked cap is about all there's room for. The fact is that the Jaguar XJ6 has the worst space index of all the cars in this Spotlight comparison, except for the Porsche, of course. The Ford Scorpio has what you actually might expect from the Jaguar: ample legroom in the rear. But the width inside the car is inadequate, and the roof height is even worse. The seat has many different adjustment positions, but it can still be difficult to obtain a good driving position. The instrument panel is boring and plasticky. Where the Audi is concerned, the instrument panel is very clear. The driver's seat is functional, comfortable, and exclusive. The seat in the Audi doesn't have quite so many adjustments, but it's nevertheless simple to find a good driving position. 3 people are able to sit comfortably in the rear, although the legroom is more cramped than the Scorpio. The Saab designers saw no reason to alter the interior of the Saab 9000 CS, and Spotlight is inclined to agree with them. The same easy entrance to the car. The same easy adjustments to the driver's seat. The same well-designed environment. The same logical, easy-to-read instrument panel. And the same space. The fact is that none of its competitors comes up to the Saab's level. And of course the car is classed as a large car in the United States according to the American EPA system. This means that the total volume of the interior and boot places the Saab 9000 CS in the same class as the very largest American cars. According to Autograph's measurements, the space index for the Saab is 9,270. The Audi and Scorpio both have 9,176, and the Jaguar 9,096. And what about comfort? The Jaguar's engine does make itself heard when accelerating, but otherwise comfort is certainly one of the Jaguar's strong points, particularly on the motorway. On the motorway, the noise level is low, the suspension good, and seating comfort excellent. But if the truth were to be told, the difference is more imaginary than real when compared to the Saab. The feeling of luxury doesn't come up to the Jaguar level, but seating comfort, suspension, and acoustic comfort are at least in the Jaguar class. However, there is more space in the Saab, as already mentioned. The Ford Scorpio with its 24-valve engine is too noisy on acceleration, but the harder suspension has done the car some good, because otherwise the car would rock too much. The Audi 100 is a car for tall Germans. The V6 engine is very quiet and the wind noise is low. It's stable and has well-adjusted suspension. Comfort is not one of the Porsche's strengths. Performance is. From 0 to 62 miles an hour in 5.7 seconds. When it comes to top speed, the Porsche is also superior to its competitors. The most valuable seconds are when you have to avoid meeting oncoming traffic when overtaking, and that means overtaking performance at between 50 to 75 miles an hour in fifth gear. And it's here that the Saab leaves its competitors behind, including the Porsche. Saab 7.8 seconds, Porsche 9.7, Audi 12.5, and Jaguar 17.2. The Scorpio is only available in the automatic version and gives no comparable values. It is, as usual, the Saab's torque that's behind it all. The Saab 9000 CS with the 2.3-litre turbo engine achieves 330 Nm at only 2000 RPM, whilst the Porsche Carrera achieves 310 at 4800. The Audi manages 245 Nm at 3000 RPM, the Ford Scorpio 275 at 4500 RPM, and the Jaguar 298 at 4000 RPM. But this car suffers from too high a reduction ratio. Despite these values, the Saab is the only car which consumes under a litre per 10 kilometres on a mixed cycle to EEC standards. The Porsche is of an old design, and its performance really demands that it be used to the full. In normal driving, this is no problem, but when taken to the limit, performance drops without warning. The Jaguar comes out better than expected. Thanks to its new suspension and its weight, it has good road holding, which has been further improved in the 24-valve version. The car also has been made livelier, but unfortunately its steering is unresponsive. The Ford Scorpio isn't a driver's car. Although it's over 300 kilos lighter than the Jaguar, it feels large, heavy and slow. A narrow track and long wheelbase make the car unstable. The Audi's been given a wider track, and this makes for an even better balance, up to a certain speed. It has a tendency to oversteer, however, and the steering servo is much too pronounced. All the cars except the Saab have poor feedback in the steering wheel. The CS is smooth, steady and consistent. The stiffer body has allowed the use of stronger anti-roll bars and modified suspension and shock absorption. It's given the car more precise steering and increased the driver's contact with the road surface. Summing up, Spotlight considers that the Saab 9000 CS comes out on top in this comparison. On most points, none of the four competitors measures up to the Saab's class, for example in terms of safety, road holding characteristics, fuel level and space. Spotlight does not, of course, feel that you can compare a Porsche with a Saab in terms of space at the rear, and obviously a Jaguar shouldn't be compared with a Saab when it comes to fast driving on tricky roads. But what is remarkable is that Saab can compete so successfully with such cars in terms of their strongest points, which is the basis for their own image. Comfort-wise, the Jaguar is by no means superior to the Saab. The Jaguar is more luxurious, but the Saab has more space. And even the Porsche is found wanting when it comes to power when it's really needed. The Ford Scorpio isn't really a competitor for the Saab. The real competitor is the Audi 100, but even this car falls short of the Saab point after point. Spotlight thus feels that the Saab 9000 CS is the most sensible choice.